So 5 years ago, I was a junior developer, and I was drowning in JIRA tickets, struggling to keep up with PRs, and honestly, feeling completely overwhelmed. Today, I'm a principal software engineer, leading a team and architecting new feature development. But the insane thing, setting ambitious goals didn't get me there. It was the complete opposite. I stopped focusing on goals altogether. Let me explain how I completely transformed my approach to software engineering and how you can too. Let me take you back where it all started. Picture this, it's 2020 and I'm sitting in a room surrounded by empty coffee cups, and I'm doing what every single junior dev does. I'm writing down my goals for the millionth time. You know the ones I'm talking about. Become a senior dev in 2 years, master every framework under the sun, write perfect code. Yes, I actually wrote that one down multiple times. Sounds familiar? I bet you're either smiling right now because you've either been there or you literally have a list just like this on your desk right now. But here's what my weeks actually look like trying to chase these goals. This is it. I'm going to learn React. Oh wait, everyone's talking about Vue. Better switch to that. But what about Angular? I can't fall behind on that. Completely overwhelmed and binging Silicon Valley for the 13th time. I basically was playing whack-a-mole with frameworks. And don't even get me started on the perfect code. I once spent 3 hours trying to make a simple if statement more elegant. 3 hours. Here's what nobody's telling you when you're starting out. These goals are like trying to catch smoke with your hands. They sound great, right? Very inspirational, very LinkedIn worthy. But there's a massive problem here. None of these goals actually told me what to do when I sat at my desk on Monday morning. They were just wishes. It's like saying I want to be rich without having a financial plan. I remember the exact moment this hit me. I was in a code review, trying to defend some overly complicated code I wrote because I thought it made me look more senior. My tech lead at the time just looked at me and asked, "But does it solve the problem?" That question hit me like a ton of bricks because the truth was, no, it didn't. I was so focused on looking senior that I'd forgotten to make sure it actually worked. And that's when everything changed. I realized I was climbing a ladder, leaning against the wrong wall. I didn't need better goals, I needed a better system. Instead of thinking, I want to be a senior dev, which honestly is almost as useful as saying I want to be a unicorn, I started thinking, what do actual senior devs do differently every day? And that's when it hit me. Titles, frameworks, even that mythical perfect code, they're all just byproducts. The real game changers are the systems you build to get you there. And let me tell you, once I figured this out, everything changed. But before I show you how exactly I built these systems, I need you to understand something. And this is something really important. This isn't about working harder. It's not about being smarter. It's definitely not about memorizing every single design pattern in existence. It's about building simple, repeatable systems that are impossible to fail. All right, so let me show you the exact 3 systems that changed everything for me. And I mean everything. The last one especially. This is what I call kind of my career rocket fuel. But we'll get to that. So let's start with the code reviews. You know, I still cringe thinking about my early PRs. Picture this, it's my 3rd month on the job. I proudly submit what I thought was a masterpiece. 1,500 lines of code, multiple features, and I probably rewrote half the code base. The senior dev's first comment, please split this up. Second comment, where do we even start? Honestly, I can laugh about this now, but at the time it was pure pain. So what did I do? So I built what I call a no roast PR system. The first rule, nothing over 200 lines, ever. It's like saying, if you can't explain something simply, well, you don't understand it well enough. The same goes for your code changes. Then I created this checklist, and I mean, I actually wrote this down. Would I understand this at 5 p.m. on a Friday? Did I include tests? Could a junior dev follow this? But here's the real game changer. Every morning, before I even touch my own code, I spend about 30 minutes reviewing others' PRs. And not this quick YOLO review, real, thoughtful feedback. So let's talk about learning. You know that feeling when a new JavaScript framework drops every week? Yeah, I used to get major FOMO about this. But instead of being a jack of all trades and master of none, I built what I call my quarterly focus system. And here's how it goes. I pick one thing, just one. For me right now, it's Go. And I build something real with it, not another to-do app, something that actually solves a problem. Think outside the box, maybe an undo app. Stupid. Then lastly, and this is crucial, teach it to someone else. Let me show you how my actual calendar looks. You see these blocked out morning sessions? That's my learning time. Non-negotiable, just like brushing my teeth, I just do it. Now, the last system, this is the one that really changed the game. It's a documentation system. Want to know what really separates a principal engineer from the rest? It's not who knows the most algorithms or who can debug the fastest. It's who can communicate complex ideas simply. So here's my exact system. Every design decision gets documented immediately. Not in a week, not when I have time, immediately. Then I do one architecture decision record every week, even if it's small. And Friday afternoons, well, that's just for me reviewing my weekly notes. And the beautiful thing about these systems, they compound. That PR system made my code better. Better code made learning easier. Better learning meant better design decisions. Better decisions meant better documentation. And suddenly, I wasn't just another dev on the team. I was the go-to person for clean code, for architecture decisions, and for helping others level up their game. But here's what I want you to understand. None of this is rocket science. I'm not doing anything magical here. I just built a simple, repeatable system, and then I stuck to it. So let me explain why this whole system approach actually works. And I'll tell you something I've never shared before. You know how in performance reviews, everyone scrambles to remember what they did in the past 6 months? I used to be terrible at this. I'd be sitting there thinking, I know I did good work, but what did I exactly do? Well, here's the beautiful thing about the system. They build the evidence automatically. I wasn't trying to create a portfolio. I was just following my documentation system. But 6 months later, when my manager asked about my impact, I had a trail of architecture decisions with my name on them, dozens of well-documented PRs showing my thought process, and a whole design system section that other teams were actually using. It's like your GitHub contribution graph, but for your whole career. The evidence just builds itself. But here's where it gets really interesting. Remember that code review system I mentioned? Something unexpected happened. It stopped being about my code. Let me paint you a picture. Junior dev submits a PR. They see my review template. They start using it themselves. Their code quality improves. Then they share it with someone else. Before I knew it, the whole team's code quality was going up. And here's the thing about being a principal engineer. Leadership doesn't want someone who can just write good code. They want someone who can make the whole team better. But you want to know the real reason I'm sold on systems? Bad day, system's still there. Feeling like a fraud? System's still there. Monday morning blues, you guessed it, system's still there. It's like having guardrails for your career. When everything else is in chaos, your system keeps you moving forward. And the best part? Over time, following these systems becomes just as natural as checking your email. You don't have to pump yourself up or find motivation. You just do it because, well, it's your system. Now let me show you exactly how to build your own career accelerating system. And I'm going to break it down in a way I wish someone explained to me all those years ago. First things first, you need to identify what's your biggest pain point. For me, it was embarrassingly obvious. I was getting destroyed in code reviews, like absolutely destroyed. I remember this one time, this one PR where I got comments. On a feature flag implementation, that was my wake-up call. Here's a simple way to find your pain point. What makes you anxious at work? Where do you keep dropping the ball? What feedback do you keep getting over and over? Now here's where most people mess up. They try to build this whole elaborate system that would make a NASA engineer sweat. Don't do that, seriously. Let me give you a real example. When I started my learning system, I had originally planned to read technical papers for an hour every single day. I wanted to build side projects every single weekend and then write a blog post twice a week. You know how long that lasted? 3 days. 3 days. So I scaled it back. Instead of an hour of reading, I started with 15 minutes. One paper every morning with my coffee. That's it. Sounds almost too easy, right? But here's what happened. Those 15 minutes actually happened. And then they started turning into 20 minutes, 30 minutes naturally. And most importantly, I didn't feel guilty when I only did 15 minutes. Think of it like a video game. You don't start at the boss level, you start at the basic tutorials. You want your system to be so simple, it feels almost laughable. Want to improve your system design skills? Don't start by trying to redesign Netflix's architecture. Start by reading one architecture paper with your morning coffee, drawing one system diagram per week, and then explaining that one design pattern to a colleague. And this brings me to the most important part, consistency. Look, I get it. We're developers. We love those intense coding sessions. You know, the one where you're in the zone for 8 hours straight, crushing problems left and right. But here's what I've learned the hard way. Those intense bursts, they don't build lasting skills. You know what does? Small, consistent actions. Think about it like this. Would you rather review code for 20 minutes every single day or spend your entire Friday doing code reviews? I've done both, and let me tell you, small daily reviews keep you connected to the code base, they build better relationships with your team, and actually stick as a habit. Let me be real with you for a second. Building system designs isn't sexy at all. It's not going to give you that same dopamine hit as pulling an all-nighter to ship a feature. But it separates the developers who burn out from the ones who build sustainable and fulfilling careers. Start small, like really small. Pick one, just one pain point, and create the simplest possible system to address it. And focus on the consistency. And that's it. And here's a pro tip. Write it down. I literally have a Google Doc with each of my systems spelled out. It's nothing fancy. It's just bullet points of what I do and when. Because the goal isn't to create a perfect system. The goal is to create a system that actually works for you. So I want to leave you with something actually actionable. Something you can start right now. Take a second and think about your biggest challenge as a developer. You know, the thing that's been bugging you. Maybe it's those PRs that make you sweat. Maybe it's the documentation you just keep putting off. Or maybe you're just feeling stuck in your current role. Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. And honestly, I truly mean this. I read every single comment, and I will try and help you design a simple system to tackle it. Not some overcomplicated process that never sticks, but actually something you can start tomorrow. So if you don't want to miss any helpful tips or other tech nerd stuff, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.